Hi, good morning. It's Councillor Glen, and it's a beautiful Saturday morning. I'm on West Ridge Drive this morning near the TransCanada Trail. It's a very, very busy spot, which is great to see so many people taking advantage of a beautiful weekend to get out for some exercise. So good to see. I've got a lot of updates today, so I will jump right into it. First of all, on vaccines, sharing some very good news. This weekend or possibly Monday, any day now, we are going to reach the point where half of all adults 18 and over in Ottawa have had at least their first dose of the vaccine. So as of yesterday afternoon, we were at 49%, and that means 415,000 first doses of the vaccine have been distributed, have been gone into the arms of people in Ottawa. So we're making some really good progress. If you are looking for a vaccine and you're over 40, if you're eligible, I'm hearing that a lot of the pharmacies have some availability. So you might want to check that out. Give a call to your favorite pharmacy and see if you can get a vaccine. It's been a very busy week this week. One of the big things was planning committee. We looked at the 1,000 Robert Grant application. It's actually now known as 5,000 Robert Grant. This was for Leash. They want to build some apartments there, and one of their requests was to build an 18-story apartment building. It is allowed because it's in proximity to a transit station, but I had concerns about transportation, and so did a lot of you in the community. So I'll tell you what happened to planning committee is I moved a motion that the tallest of the buildings, that 18-story building, can't proceed until the last phase of Robert Grant Avenue is built. So that'll be Abbott Street to Hazeldean, Hazeldean to Maple Grove. At this point, it's looking like end of the decade. Could be earlier. It'd be nice if it was earlier to get Robert Grant built as soon as possible. But in any case, Leash can't move forward with that tallest building until Robert Grant Avenue is built. And that'll bring it closer to when better transit comes to that neighborhood, including a transit station, which is the whole reason they were allowed to ask for extra height in the first place. I've written all about this on my blog, glengower.ca, so just look for the notebook entry. It's probably the third or fourth item there. Also on my website, really good profile of Michelle Hurtubise with the Western Ottawa Community Resource Centre and about the types of things that WOCRC does in our community. They serve Stittsville, Canada, West Carleton, a little bit into Rideau Goulburn as well. Anyhow, read all about it. Michelle is a executive director and a really great leader for that organization, and we're lucky to have them in our community. Other things that happened this week. We had a public meeting about 1620 Maple Grove. This is a Richcraft proposal for some townhomes on Maple Grove just east of Huntmar, so you can watch that video on YouTube. And next week we have a information meeting about 21 Huntmar. This is a North American group. It's a proposal for some apartments across from the Food Basic, which would also include, by the way, the traffic light at the entrance to the Food Basics and a sidewalk along Huntmar connecting from the Keg all the way south to Coriolis, which is a good thing. We also got some news about federal government funding. Two major projects in Stittsville. I don't know, major projects, two important projects, let's put it that way. One is to build some pedestrian crosswalks along Brightside, just east of Guardian Angel School. So we have a lot of foot traffic there, mixing with a lot of car traffic, and kids and students in particular. So we're going to have some pedestrian crossings installed there. And then there's a shelter, a picnic shelter at Cardell Rec near the baseball diamonds there. There's a lot of activity there outside of COVID with tournaments and sporting events, so that'll be useful there. I had a few people ask, why is the price tag on some of these so high? First of all, these are not temporary structures. These are long-term structures that are intended to be there for 20, 30, 40 years. The other thing that adds some cost, in particular to the crosswalks, is to make sure that they're fully accessible. So when you add crosswalks, you need to make sure that people in a wheelchair, people pushing a stroller can get up and down off the curb. And these things actually are not cheap to complete. So there is a price tag with that. Anyhow, there is information about all this on my website. I was chatting with my team yesterday. Every Friday we do an end of week wrap up, and I said, what should I remind people about? And they had some really good feedback. I wanted to mention we are getting a ton of inquiries right now, and we are delayed a little more than we'd like in getting back to you. We're dealing with COVID inquiries, we're dealing with inquiries about parks, we're dealing, there's all sorts of questions coming in. So it does take a few days for us to get back to you, but we do read and respond to all your emails. One thing you can do to help us out is to use 311. So if you want to report graffiti in a park or a sign that's fallen down, any kind of issues like that, call 311. It's okay to email us, but we're basically just inputting it into the 311 system. So you can help us cut down on some of our work and also get a quicker response and follow-up and everything if you use 311. If it's an ongoing issue where you've already tried to address it through 311 or you're not getting a quick response, then please call us. We like to take on the more complex, meatier issues when we can. So always call 311. Some questions that came up this week. Wood burning fires are not allowed in the urban areas. You are allowed, propane fire pits in your backyard generally, but you are not allowed wood burning fires in your backyard. If you're out in the rural area, always watch to see if a fire ban is in effect, and check out ottawa.ca or call 311 to see if you need a permit to burn that wood. We're seeing a lot of landscaping, obviously, people working on their front yards, on their backyards. Make sure you check the bylaws in terms of how wide you can do your landscaping if it's going to be a driveway. We have a lot of people wanting to widen driveways. There are some rules, some limits as to how much you can add to the width of that. It's important so you're not reducing on-street parking. We're also concerned as well about stormwater management. The grass in your lawn and the permeable surfaces contribute to stormwater management, and if we start paving over everything, that's a problem. I'm actually going to post this week on my website just a summary of some of the rules you should know if you're doing your driveway, so watch for that. The other thing too is if you've got a delivery of dirt or stones, put it in your driveway and not on the street. It can be a real inconvenience to neighbors and sometimes a safety issue as well. We've had a lot of questions about utility work. You're seeing flags and markers on the road. Whenever I get information from Bell or Rogers about planned utility work in our area, I always try to post that on Twitter and put it in my email newsletter and on Facebook as well. If you have questions, you can email me, of course. And just so you know, Bell and Rogers, when they do work that digs up your lawn or your driveway, they are required to return that to the original state. So we can hold them to that for sure. The last one is dogs on a leash. Please make sure you're respecting the on-leash laws in our community, especially along pathways. As wonderful as your dog is and as well-behaved as they are, there are a lot of people who are not comfortable with dogs and very uncomfortable running into dogs off leash when they're on our pathways. So please respect those and keep your dog on a leash and clean up after your dog as well. I wanted to mention a couple things about cycling. First of all, we are hosting, along with Enviro Center, an urban cycling workshop on June 16th. So it'll be about an hour long. You can register on my website, and some tips about how to make the most of your bike here in Stittsville and other areas of the city. And that's a good reminder as we're here along the TransCanada Trail too. If you're on a bike, make sure you've got a bell on your bike. It's one of the simplest things you can do to show a bit of courtesy to your fellow pathway users. Ring that bell when you're passing people, and please make sure you're giving people the space that they need. And I ran into a resident, I was delivering some flyers the other day, and he asked me to remind you, if you're walking on a street and it doesn't have sidewalks, the safest way to walk is to walk facing traffic. So facing traffic so they can see you, you can see them. So good reminder, thank you to that. I think that is it for today. We have a busy week again next week. I've got an update with Vera Etches from the Ottawa Board of Health in terms of the Ottawa COVID situation. We have a public meeting, as I mentioned, about 21 Huntmar, and we're continuing our planning for the Stittsville Volunteer Awards, which is coming up the first week of June. So watch for more about that coming soon. Enjoy this beautiful day. I hope you get out for a walk, for a bike ride, explore your neighborhood a little bit, and get some of this sun. I'll see you next Saturday. Take care. Bye.